Hey everybody. So I had a request to talk about UVing leaves or petals and such like that. And it's actually pretty easy. It's a little bit organic and you got to kind of develop a feel for it. But this is a quick kind of down and dirty demo I got for you. And what we'll do is first show you I just made a couple of leaves and I put a really bad, well, it's not awful, but you wouldn't use it for a final per se, texture on my leaves. Created one and then created the other from the first one, and they're a little bit different just so that they feel kind of organic. And I created these differently than we created the leaves the other day. It's just another technique, but this was fast and easy. If you are interested, what I did was in 2015, you have the Mesh Toolkit. It's also in 2014, just I believe it's an icon over here as opposed to actually in the menu over here. And what you got is this Quad Draw tool, which is similar to the old Create Poly tool in Maya, but I kind of like it better, and I'll show you why. What I'm able to do, and it's right over here, is select the Quad Draw tool, and in the viewport, you can actually just sort of lay out some points. And what I'll do is I'll just sort of lay out some points. And this is really sloppy, but it'll work. And let's just do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then just grab that top one and just move it over a little bit. Okay? So that's sort of like the length of one of my leaves. And then the nice thing about it is if I hold down the Shift key and move over this, you can actually see where it is going to construct your polygons. And all I have to do is click when I see a polygon and I'm done. And then just hit Q to get out of the tool. So then I have this sort of pretty simple shape. And I can select all these faces. And you can shape them now if you want to shape them afterwards. Go into face mode, and we could just select all these faces and go in here and go into extrude. Make a simple extrude out of this, like that, and there you go. And then you can bend this, use a bend modifier. You guys should know bend modifier by now pretty well. Just make sure that you delete your history, freeze your transforms, and you can go in here like any other geometry, and start moving these things around, which is kind of nice. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. You can grab these, move this down, make it kind of, feel kind of organic-y. Organic-y, that's a good word, right? Right? There you go. And then just, like I said, stand it up, move your pivot. You might want to put additional edge loops in here along the sides. If we look at one of these, you'll see what I did. You just unsmooth that out for a second. So basically, I did that, created a bend modifier, but you can also just rotate your vertices or your faces as well, and just do it by hand, which is how I did this. I basically created one, and then I just flipped it around, and then just kind of added a couple of bends to it to make it look more organic. But that extra edge loop in here just gives me the ability to hold on to the edges, which is always nice. Okay, and I just loop the bottom so it looks kind of roundy, so like the stem could come up out of there. And that's it. So that's the construction of this, which isn't the point of this, but I wanted to show you, how I went about that. What I will do is show you that in the case of both of these leaves, because they pretty much share UVs, and I made this really, really crappy texture map in Photoshop. I just went on Google and grabbed a long leaf image and basically painted it in here and did stuff like that. It's only for demo. You guys will probably be much more professional about it. So what we want to do is, what I'm going to do is grab one of these, and I'm going to duplicate them and move them off to the side like this. And what I will do is go under Edit UVs and delete them. So now this guy has a material, but he has no UVs. And that's probably what you were looking for. So let's grab this guy and talk about it for a minute. First things first, let's take him down to his lowest level of detail for UVing. It's just going to be easier, particularly when we are using something like an image of a leaf or something, because what we need to do is kind of sometimes drag the UVs around in here in the editor to match up. and that'll become evidenced in a while. So as far as making UVs for this thing goes, a couple different ways we could proceed. You could try auto. I think auto is not going to be your friend in this case, but let's try it. We could go in here and we could select auto map, and let me just shut off this map for a second so you can see what you get. And what it does is it does its best on a 6-sided projection to create the UVs on the sides. And I mean, it creates the points and the sides. The only thing is this is the extruded side with the extra edge loop, so you'd have to sew these back on, particularly when you're using a painted image, because what you want is you want that sort of whole side of the leaf to show up so you can kind of just mash it in there. And this is certainly going to be a pain in the butt to do that with, so I wouldn't suggest that. You could do something like cylindrical, which I didn't think is going to be another horror story. Cylindrical mapping just basically loops it around, kind of like if you were mapping an oil can or a jar or something like that. And in this case, that's really not a good plan either, because you can see what that gives us as far as the UVs here. It's pretty horrific. So that's not going to work. Probably planar will be a good choice. So let's grab planar. And what planar is trying to do is it picks a direction, in this case down the Y, to apply the UVs from. You can change that yourself. You could literally go into the rotation and set this to, let's say, the Z axis, and you can see how that changes that over here. Something else I want to show you is, other than just entering numbers over here, you can do this interactively. As far as rotation, I mean, scale-wise, you can shift the scale of that this way, which you may or may not want to do. Which I probably don't, so let me just put it back to where it was. At the bottom of each one of these UV sort of gizmos, you'll see like a little red T or a little red cross. If you click that, what it does is it gives you a gizmo for moving or scaling or doing all sorts of stuff to this. So we could move these around, you could shove these, but more importantly, we can rotate them. So this is sort of a screen space, if you look at this cyan circle, a screen space rotation tool. And what I want to do is I want to kind of rotate this up. All right, and let me just move it down a little bit. Oops, I don't want to do that. I just want to do the move and just slide it down a little bit. Okay, maybe scale it a bit like this. But most importantly, what I want to do is sort of rotate it. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to rotate it to the point where it gives me the closest. We can grab this. Let's rotate this, grab this scale, do something like that. What I'd like to do is rotate this to the place where I get the least overlap. You see how I'm kind of rotating this, and it's sort of like rotating the leaf in the UV editor in 3D. But when I unwrap this, I kind of want this to be as unoverlapped as possible so that Maya has a fighting chance to sort of unwrap it. And somewhere, I guess, somewhere in there maybe might be good. Something like that, right? So let's just take that and say, all right, that's a starting place. So now the next thing I know that I want to do is I want to cut the front off from the back. Okay, so let's go into here and I want to go to edges. And luckily for me, I happen to have a seam on this side. That's that extra edge loop or that I was able to add in. And what I can do is I can go right over here and I can say cut. And I should have this same edge loop on this side. And if you wanted to, you could go up to the Edit UV menu and cut UV edge there as well. So now I have it cut on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this full size. I'm going to go right click and go into UV mode, and I just need one UV, something like that. I'm going to right click again and say select shell. Okay. Now hitting the move, I should be able to break off the two halves like this. And there you go. But I want to show you something interesting. If we look at this, and what I have here is this basically shades the UV shells for me, is I can see that I have one that's blue and one that's red. Red UV shells are inverted, and that's why they're red, because they're bad. Because if you think about it, what we did is when we projected our UV, we projected it from one side, so it projected straight through. So of course the UVs on the back side would be backwards, okay? So basically what we want to do is take this UV shell, which is the back side, and flip it. Okay, so what we can do is we can just go to this little icon right up here, and we can actually select this shell. And if you go to the polygons menu, well, there's a couple ways we can do it. We can flip it with this little icon right here. We can flip it like that, okay? Or we could go to the polygon menu and we can flip it there. Either one will work, same result. So now I have two UV shells. So I go back to UV and I go back to my select UV tool. I have this. What I'm going to do is separate them. Now we're on to the fun part. We want to make these basically represent the shape of our mesh. And that may or may not work well depending on how we do it. So let's just try the basic tools first. What I'm going to do is pick the good old-fashioned smooth UV tool, all right, which is this. And we'll hit the unfold. And it's not exactly what we wanted, so but it so rarely is. So what I'm going to say to do is go into polygons, go down to the unfold, okay? And you could use the new unfold 3D as an option, or you could use legacy. This is new. I have no idea if this is going to work, but let's give it a shot. Let's just make sure this reset to this, and what I'm going to say is apply. Not bad, actually. So it actually did that pretty good. The reason it grabbed this one and shoved them both over here, and what I'll do is, I will undo this so you can see, is that we have this pack button clicked. So if you don't want to move that, if you're just like, well, just concentrate on this one first, what you can do is you turn off the pack button and then hit apply. And there you go. So that worked pretty well. Let's see what this guy will do. So we can grab this and we can hit apply. And there you go. Now this one appears to be decidedly bigger than that one. So we have one more tool we can try, or we could just eyeball it. But this worked pretty good. I'm going to hit close. Go into Q for select. I will select both of these guys. And I'm going to go back to polygon. And I'm going to go down to the layout tab and select layout. And what this should do is it should select a prescale of, well, I wouldn't want none. I'd want either object or world. We'll try both. And what we want is we want them in the region, which is the 0 to 1 region. And the shell stacking, we want to do it, you can do it by bounding box, which means that it won't allow them to stack each other based on the bounding box. Rotating is okay. Depends on what you want. If you're painting, and in this case, I want them to be 90. And scale preset is fine. You don't even really need to touch that. And we do want their scale to be equal. So let's just try this. I'm going to hit apply, and it gives me that. Okay, I mean, they're about the same size now, so I think they're looking pretty good. The only thing left that I really want to do here is I want to rotate them into place. So what I'm going to do is click this guy, use the rotate tool, and rotate him up like this. I'm going to go over here, grab this guy, use the rotate tool. Oops, I got to click it again. There you go. Use the rotate tool, and we will do something like that. And then I can move this guy right in here, and probably both need to be scaled. Let's just try that. Grab them both, use the scale button, and then I'm going to use the move button. Okay? So at this point, we're close. Now you're just down to fudging. And what you can see if you look here is this is the top, and these are my vertices. So I can literally go in here and move my vertices around if I want. Just like this. So I'm going to do this really fast and dirty. Alright, so there we go. Something like that. Grab this little one right there, if I can get to them. Just do this, like that. And then grab all of this and put it up there. Cool. And I'm going to grab these. And this behind me is the image of the leaf. So you can see that all we're doing is I'm just pulling this out to the edge to grab as many verts as I possibly can. What I also am going to do is turn off that shading, because there's a line down the middle of the leaf, if you can see it right there. And I want this center to be on that line. So what I'm going to do, before I get too fastidious about everything is just grab these and center the line. Okay? And so that way that line, which is in the center of the leaf, will run down the center of the geometry. Okay, so we'll just move that. Now the bottom of this map is horrible, so what I'm going to do is not let it be full size. I'm just going to kind of pull it up like this and just shove these guys around and maybe something like that up there. So this is, you know, this was for an example. This was sort of messy, but it'll still look cool enough for you guys to go, oh, that makes sense. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Let's see where we're at. We've got plenty of room. We've got lots of extra pixels on this side, pixels here, and you can see where the leaf kind of portion of the drawing is. I painted green behind it just in case something bled off the edges. So we'll do that. And we'll grab this and grab these and do that. Over here, there you go. There's the edge of that plant right there. And over here. Now let's get into the ugly part down here. We'll do this. This looks crappy, but it'll work. Grab these and something like this. Grab this, move it up. As long as it's in the center, it'll look cool. Like that. And down here, something like this is where it's going horribly wrong. Okay, so we just want it to the inside of that. All right. So there's one side. Grab this, and I have no idea if you want to watch this entire process, as mundane and boring as it is. I'm going to grab scale just to open all those up a bit. More pixels I can pick up, the better. That's the only reason of doing this. So we can scoop up more pixels. Pixels are gold. All right. So you can get this in. This is actually good. Put your headphones on and zone out sort of work. I know people don't like UVs, but honestly, once you get into them, they're kind of cool. You can just go, oh yeah, this is going to work great. So do this, grab this, make sure the center's on the line. As a matter of fact, let's just do that first, so then I don't have to think about the center anymore. And we'll do this right down to the bottom, grab this, right like that. Go to here. This is where we started bunching them up because my map is crap. And we grab this and shove them like that. Something like that. And then this is okay. That's, well, there's plenty of pixels over here if I want them. So I can grab all those pixels, grab this, nice pixels over here, take this up like that, this over there, very nice. What do we see? Something like that's okay. Just like that. If they get too crunchy and bumpy like that, you can always grab the whole line and go up here, and there's this nice tool for flattening them out. And that just makes neatening them up even easier. In fact, I can do that. Go over here, pull this out, pull this out, just like that. And you can see fairly quickly you can cover your map pretty good. So, I mean, this isn't amazing, but it should work. Okay, that's good. Let's just get out of there. Let's go back to here, and this is the one we just did. And I will select object, and we hit smooth, and let's just take a peek at it. All right, there you go. So that was the UV process for this. So basically, different ways of doing it, different tools. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes it goes on and on and on. But the thing I would recommend is this thing sometimes can work. You know, sometimes it doesn't. And inside of polygons, the Unfold 3D worked this time. And sometimes it's a nuisance. I think that it works best when you don't have overlap. So if you remember when I applied that planar map to this, I just kind of rotated it around so I had very little overlap. And that seems to help. Alrighty, so whatever you do to get them to not be overlapped, it seems like Unfold 3D might work. If they're a bit overlapped, legacy might be your case, and what I would do is just mess with these. Maybe do them vertically first or horizontally first. You could always try none first. None worked fine on these other ones. I didn't even try the new UV tool, and they just work great. But it's really about just different cases depending on the geometry. Invariably, before you start UVing, you should totally have your history gone and freeze your transforms, and you should be in good shape. Okie dokie. Hopefully that helped. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.